The arrival, the emergence of the Empire. The skies above Earth were calm, peaceful, as they had always been. People were going about their lives, unaware that a great change was about to come. It all started with a sudden flash, a bright light cutting through the sky like nothing anyone had ever seen before. For a moment, it was as if the entire world had paused to look up. Then, the truth hit hard. A massive, sleek spaceship, unlike anything humanity had ever imagined, appeared above the planet. It was not a simple vessel. It was an entire empire, a fleet of ships that stretched across the sky, covering cities, mountains, and oceans. The people on Earth could do nothing but stare, their hearts filled with a mixture of awe and fear. For hours, the ships remained, hovering over major cities like New York, London, Beijing, and Rio de Janeiro. News outlets flooded with images of the strange vessels, their enormous size overwhelming even the most experienced reporters. No one knew who these beings were or what they wanted. The ships emitted a hum that was deep and resonating, echoing through the air. The world's leaders scrambled to respond. Governments and military forces quickly gathered, trying to make sense of the situation. But their weapons, missiles, and aircraft were useless against the alien ships. Nothing could touch them. The aliens were beyond advanced, and humanity was nothing but a speck in comparison. The military's desperate attempts to communicate with the invaders were met with silence. A few hours later, the world's capital cities received a broadcast. A strange language filled the airwaves, incomprehensible to everyone on Earth. But then, a voice, clear and unmistakable, spoke in perfect English. "We are the Vothar Empire," the voice said, cold and distant. "We have come to claim this planet. Your world is now under our rule. You will comply, or we will destroy you. Resist, and we will wipe you from existence." Panic spread like wildfire. People were terrified. Governments tried to organize a defense, but it was too late. The Vothar Empire had already demonstrated its power. The aliens didn't need to announce their dominance. The sheer size and presence of their ships were enough to instill fear in the hearts of humanity. They had shown, with a single broadcast, that they controlled everything. In the streets, people were confused. The markets were in chaos, and there were loud protests against the alien forces. People didn't know what to think. Some were afraid, while others believed that perhaps the aliens would be merciful. But deep down, everyone knew that their world was on the edge of a terrifying new reality. Then the first wave of attacks began. The Vothar ships released powerful beams of energy that struck strategic military bases across the world. Entire cities were left in ruins within moments. It wasn't a fight. It was a massacre. The alien ships moved like shadows across the planet, leaving destruction in their wake. Humanity, despite its technology, was powerless. News reports showed the destruction in real time, and people began to lose hope. The aliens had proven themselves far beyond anything Earth could resist. There were whispers of surrender. There were talks of giving up. How could a species as advanced as the Vothar be stopped? Who could stand against them? But there were others who refused to accept that Earth's fate was sealed. A small group of military leaders, scientists, and citizens who believed in humanity's strength began to meet in secret. They were determined not to surrender. They knew this was just the beginning, and if humanity stood any chance, it was now. The aliens had underestimated the power of human resilience. They thought fear would bring humanity to its knees, but they didn't understand what humans were capable of when they were pushed to the edge. While the world trembled, a spark of defiance began to form. Humanity might have been at a disadvantage, but they were not easily defeated. The Vothar Empire had arrived, and the world would never be the same again. But in the silence following the chaos, a question lingered in the air. Could humanity fight back? Could they find a way to survive against an empire so powerful and seemingly invincible? As night fell over Earth, the sky still filled with the looming ships of the Vothar Empire. One thing was certain: humanity's fight for survival had only just begun. The stakes were high, but the spirit of mankind was far from broken. The aliens had come to conquer, but they had not yet realized the true strength of their human adversaries. The suspense was thick in the air. Would humanity bow to the will of the Vothar Empire, or would they find the courage to rise up and prove that their spirit could never be extinguished? The answer, unknown to the aliens, was waiting to be written by the very humans they had underestimated. Humanity's defiance begins. The world was on the edge of panic, but beneath the surface, something else was stirring. While the Vothar Empire moved steadily through Earth's skies, announcing their dominance and preparing to reshape the planet in their image, small pockets of resistance began to form. People were afraid, but they were not willing to go down without a fight. In a small underground bunker hidden beneath the city of New York, a group of military leaders, scientists, and tech experts gathered. These were the last remaining members of Earth's United Defense Forces, and they knew their only hope was to put their minds together and come up with a plan. The idea of defeating the Vothar seemed impossible. Their technology was far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. But if there was one thing humans knew best, it was how to adapt, how to surprise, and how to never give up. General Sarah West, a battle-hardened leader, stood at the head of the table, her face lined with worry, but filled with determination. We can't fight them with brute force. We don't have the weapons to match their ships. But we have something they don't, she said, looking around the room at the others. We have our brains, our ingenuity, and our unity. That's our advantage. Dr. Evan Clark, a scientist specializing in alien technology, nodded thoughtfully. They may be stronger, but we've already learned something valuable about them. The Vothar rely heavily on their advanced weapons, their shields, and their technology. But they have one major flaw: arrogance. They think they're invincible, and they've underestimated humanity. A young hacker named Lisa crossed her arms and added, "They made a mistake thinking we'd just fold under pressure. We've always fought back, and we'll do it again. We might not have their weapons, but we have the willpower. We'll find a way to use their arrogance against them." The room fell silent as they all considered what had been said. There was no easy path forward, but there was a glimmer of hope. Humanity had always found a way to survive, to adapt, to fight. And now, the time had come to do it again. The plan was set into motion quickly. Lisa and her team of hackers worked to infiltrate the alien communication network, sending false signals and confusing the Vothar systems. Meanwhile, Sarah and the military group worked to coordinate guerrilla-style tactics, using Earth's terrain and their knowledge of their own world to stay one step ahead of the invaders. The key was unpredictability. They had to keep the Vothar guessing, never allowing them to get comfortable. As days passed, small victories began to emerge. The resistance wasn't winning any large battles yet, but they were showing the aliens that they could not take Earth for granted. There were reports of alien patrols being ambushed, and some communication lines being intercepted. It wasn't much, but it was enough to send a message. Humanity would not be easily conquered. Still, the Vothar were relentless. The aliens retaliated with even more force, destroying major cities and wiping out key military installations. The world watched in horror as entire civilizations crumbled under the alien assault. But despite the overwhelming odds, the resistance held firm. They were ready to fight for every inch of Earth's soil. In one of the underground bases, Sarah's eyes were filled with resolve as she addressed her team. "The world may fall apart, but we will not. We will fight to the last breath if we have to. We will never surrender. We are the last line of defense." Despite the devastation, a small spark of hope began to grow. Earth wasn't giving up, and the Vothar had underestimated the resilience of its people. As the battle for Earth's survival continued, humanity was proving one thing: never underestimate the power of the human spirit. Unexpected resistance. The Vothar Empire, once confident in its unchallenged supremacy, started to notice something unexpected. Despite the overwhelming power of their ships, Despite the destruction they had already caused, humanity was not breaking. Earth's cities were in ruins, and many countries had fallen, but the resistance was growing stronger, more organized. And most surprising of all was the creativity and ingenuity of the human fighters. The first real sign of resistance came when a small, scattered group of civilians and military fighters managed to sabotage a key Vothar communications relay in the heart of New York City. Using old tech, equipment the aliens considered obsolete, these humans managed to infiltrate and cause chaos within the Vothar systems. The Vothar had never imagined humans could adapt so quickly to their high-tech methods. They had assumed that Earth's most advanced military strategies would be child's play for their fleet. But here, in the ruins of the city, humanity was proving them wrong. General Sarah West received the news of the attack and quickly realized the significance. The aliens had underestimated Earth's ability to adapt and innovate, thinking that their technology was the be-all and end-all. It was now clear that the human spirit wasn't just surviving. It was learning, evolving, and pushing back. "What we did in New York is just the beginning," Sarah said as she looked over the reports from the attack. "We need to keep them off balance, use their own systems against them. They think they're invincible, and that arrogance is their greatest weakness." Across the world, the resistance began to expand. Smaller, independent groups of soldiers, engineers, hackers, and civilians found new ways to fight back. In the shadows, they became a growing force, hidden from the aliens' watchful eyes, but striking at them when they least expected it. In the deserts of the Middle East, a group of military engineers had uncovered an old, forgotten weapons system that could disrupt the Vothar's energy shields. It wasn't much, but it was enough to punch through the invaders' defenses, just enough to give humanity a chance to strike. A fleet of old fighter jets, modified with these new weapons, flew under the radar, executing quick, surgical strikes against alien supply lines. Back in the underground resistance base, Lisa, the young hacker, had become a key player in the fight. She was constantly infiltrating the Vothar communication networks, sending fake orders, jamming their systems, and gathering critical intelligence. One evening, she received a message that could change the course of the war. A decrypted Vothar transmission had revealed a weakness in their energy grid, a potential vulnerability they had missed. Lisa wasted no time. She immediately sent the information to General West, who wasted no time planning the next step. With this new knowledge, humanity had a fighting chance. The next strike would be their boldest yet, and it wasn't going to be a small, isolated attack. This time, they were going all in. The resistance, now united across the globe, began planning a major assault on one of the Vothar's key command centers. If they could disrupt the aliens' leadership, it could throw their entire empire into chaos. But it would be a risky move. The Vothar had likely become aware of their efforts, and this would be the most dangerous mission humanity had yet attempted. "We have to be smart," Sarah said, her face grim as she addressed the gathered resistance leaders. "We're not just attacking them with force. We're going to outsmart them. We know they're watching us, so we'll feed them false information. We'll move in like shadows and strike when they're most vulnerable." The resistance fighters, though still vastly outnumbered, were filled with a sense of determination. They were no longer simply trying to survive. They were fighting to win. The first signs of hope were now a reality. Humanity had shown the Vothar that they were not as easy to defeat as the aliens had thought. The fight was far from over, but humanity was starting to show its true potential. And as the resistance prepared for their boldest move yet, the Vothar were starting to realize they were facing something they had never expected. A species with the will to survive, to adapt, and to fight back with everything it had. The tide was beginning to turn, turning the tables. The resistance was no longer a small, scattered group. It had grown into a force to be reckoned with. With each new victory, humanity's confidence grew, and the Vothar Empire began to feel the first tremors of doubt. The aliens had always assumed that their technology and superior numbers would ensure their domination. But now, They were facing an enemy that fought with resourcefulness, cunning, and a fierce determination to survive. The planned assault on the Vothar Command Center had begun, and for the first time, it was clear that humanity's forces were working as one. Their global network of resistance fighters had successfully coordinated the largest operation yet. The alien empire had underestimated how well humans could adapt their tactics to the unfamiliar and seemingly invincible technology of the Vothar. Sarah West's team led the charge. Their target was a massive Vothar ship, located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The ship was responsible for coordinating the alien forces and acting as the nerve center of their operations. If the humans could take it out, it would disrupt the entire Vothar chain of command. Using a combination of old military aircraft, modified drones, and ground teams equipped with stolen alien technology, the resistance infiltrated the alien fleet's outer defenses. The Vothar ships, once thought to be impenetrable, had no idea what was coming. The humans used clever tactics to outsmart their enemies, attacking from unexpected angles, hiding their movements, and hacking the Vothar's own surveillance systems to create confusion. The first major victory came when one of the human assault teams disabled the shields of a Vothar warship using a weapon designed by Earth's engineers. The shield generators, previously thought to be invincible, flickered and shut down for a brief moment. It was enough for the humans to strike with a barrage of missiles that hit the Vothar vessel squarely. It exploded in a massive fireball, sending shockwaves through the Vothar fleet. The Vothar, stunned and confused by the attack, scrambled to respond. Their command center was now in chaos, and their once unshakable confidence began to crack. The humans had taken the first big step in turning the tables. Back at the resistance base, Sarah stood watching the operation unfold. Her heart raced as she received the confirmation. "We've breached their defenses. The command ship is compromised," one of her officers reported. But there was no time for celebration. The Vothar were quickly regrouping, and their response was swift. Earth's resistance had taken a bite out of their empire, but the aliens were still formidable. The next few hours would be critical in determining whether the humans could maintain this momentum. As expected, the Vothar retaliated with brutal force. Within minutes, human forces began to face a counterattack like no other. Alien ships descended from the sky, raining energy blasts on the Earth's forces below. The ground shook, and smoke filled the air. But even in the midst of the attack, humanity refused to falter. The humans fought back with everything they had, refusing to give up despite the overwhelming odds. In a small, remote village, a group of civilians who had joined the resistance fought side by side with soldiers. They used whatever they could find, old weapons, makeshift bombs, and their own hands, to help defend their homes and protect those who couldn't fight. The Vothar underestimated them, thinking that civilians would run in fear. Instead, they stood their ground, striking back at the aliens with a ferocity they had never seen before. As the hours wore on, the Vothar realized they had underestimated humanity in more ways than one. Their ships, once thought to be invincible, had suffered severe damage. The humans had managed to exploit weaknesses in the Vothar's technology, learning faster than the aliens ever imagined possible. The turning point came when Lisa, the brilliant hacker, discovered a vulnerability in the Vothar's central data systems. She had already infiltrated their network multiple times, but this was the breakthrough humanity needed. The Vothar had kept their most sensitive data in one central hub, and Lisa managed to get her hands on it. With this new information, the resistance knew exactly where to strike next. They could now sabotage the Vothar's fleet in a way that would leave them vulnerable, cutting off their access to critical systems and communications. The tide was finally turning in humanity's favor. General West had her orders. Hit them where it hurts. Take out their central command. We finish this now. The resistance forces moved into position for a final, decisive strike against the heart of the Vothar Empire. The balance of power had shifted. The humans were no longer fighting just to survive. They were fighting to win. And the Vothar, who had once looked at humanity as nothing more than a fleeting nuisance, were starting to realize the terrible truth. They had awakened a sleeping giant, and it would not rest until it was free. As the sun set on another day of war, the Resistance stood poised for their next move. The Vothar Empire had underestimated humanity's resolve, and now they were about to feel the full force of human defiance. Humanity's hidden strengths. The battle had raged on for weeks now, and the tide was turning in humanity's favor. What had started as small acts of resistance had evolved into a full-scale uprising. The Vothar Empire, once confident in its overwhelming power, was beginning to show signs of strain. The alien forces had made a fatal mistake in underestimating humanity's ingenuity, and now they were paying the price. The key to humanity's success lay not in its advanced weaponry, because Earth still lagged far behind the Vothar in that regard, but in its ability to adapt and use every resource at its disposal. Humanity's true strength lay in its creativity and determination. While the Vothar's advanced technology was powerful, it was also rigid and predictable. They had failed to account for humanity's ability to think outside the box, to adapt, and to fight in ways the Vothar never anticipated. General Sarah West stood in the command center of the Resistance, reviewing the latest reports. Her team had struck at a key Vothar supply line, cutting off vital resources and weapons. It was a small victory, but it was enough to keep the Vothar on edge. "We've slowed their advance," Sarah said, her voice steady but filled with determination. "But we need to hit them harder. The Vothar are regrouping, and we can't let them get their footing again." At the same time, across the world, small pockets of humanity were fighting in their own way. In the underground bunkers of Europe, engineers worked tirelessly to refine their new weapons. They had taken old Earth technology, laser systems, electromagnetic pulses, and even modified missiles, and combined them with stolen Vothar tech. The result was a set of weapons designed specifically to exploit weaknesses in the Vothar's shields and energy systems. One such breakthrough came when Dr. Evan Clark, the lead scientist working for the Resistance, managed to reverse engineer a Vothar weapons power core. Using this technology, he and his team developed a prototype device capable of disabling the alien fleet's shields for several precious minutes. With those moments of vulnerability, humanity's soldiers could strike, overwhelming the Vothar with sheer numbers and relentless firepower. The device, dubbed the Pulse Core, was ready for deployment, and when it was used in battle for the first time, it delivered an enormous blow to the Vothar, temporarily disabling their advanced shield technology in a critical sector of the alien fleet. The Resistance quickly moved in, exploiting the opportunity to take down one of the Vothar's largest warships. The victory was a game-changer. The Vothar had never considered that humans could use their own technology against them so effectively. But the humans had been working in the shadows, learning, adapting, and improving. Meanwhile, Lisa, the young hacker, continued to play a vital role in the Resistance. She had become an expert in infiltrating the Vothar's communication networks. Each time she cracked their systems, she found new vulnerabilities to exploit. She was able to mislead the Vothar into thinking they were under attack from multiple directions, creating confusion within their ranks. Lisa's efforts were proving invaluable. She had already found the location of the Vothar's central data hub, and with that knowledge, the Resistance could now strike directly at the heart of the alien empire. The humans' ability to use both their intellect and their environment to their advantage had turned the tables in ways the Vothar could never have predicted. "We're getting close," Sarah said, a fierce fire in her eyes. "The Vothar think they have this under control, but they've made a critical mistake. They've underestimated us, and that's going to cost them." The final stages of the Resistance's plan were underway. The Pulse Core had weakened the Vothar's defenses, and now humanity's forces were ready to strike with everything they had. The plan was simple but dangerous. Hit the Vothar's most vulnerable points and disable their control over the fleet, leaving them exposed to full-scale assault. In the dead of night, Resistance fighters launched a coordinated attack, targeting the alien fleet's central command center. This was the moment that could change everything. Humanity had already proven that it could survive, but now it had the chance to finish what had been started, to reclaim the Earth from the Vothar once and for all. As Sarah and her team led the final assault, they could feel the weight of their actions. This was not just a battle for survival, it was a fight for Earth's future. Every step they took, every victory they won, was a step toward proving that humanity would not be crushed, no matter the odds. The Vothar, once so confident in their control, were now scrambling to respond. They had failed to anticipate the power of human resilience, creativity, and unity. Their systems were falling apart, their ships damaged, and their leadership fractured. Humanity's hidden strengths, its will to fight, its determination to survive, and its ability to adapt, had taken the Vothar by surprise. But there was no time to waste. The final blow was coming, and this time, the aliens would not recover. The final showdown. The Vothar Empire, once an unstoppable force that dominated the skies and commanded entire star systems, was now reeling. Earth had thrown everything it had at the invaders, and against all odds, the humans had made significant gains. But the Vothar were not yet defeated. They were regrouping, reorganizing, and preparing for a final desperate counterattack. Humanity had dared to challenge them, and now the Vothar were determined to crush this insurrection once and for all. General Sarah West stood on the bridge of the Resistance flagship, watching as Earth's forces gathered in the distance. The human fleet, though still small compared to the vast might of the Vothar, had become an organized and relentless force. The combined resistance forces, military, civilian, and technological experts, were ready for the final assault. "This is it," Sarah said, her voice steady but filled with the weight of what was about to unfold. "We've fought for weeks, months, and now it all comes down to this. If we win, we take back Earth. If we fail, it's over." Her eyes scanned the faces of the resistance leaders, all of whom were prepared to risk everything. The last few days had been a whirlwind of strategic planning, new technological breakthroughs, and coordinated attacks. The Vothar had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and fight, but now it was time to put everything on the line. Lisa, the hacker, was already working behind the scenes, infiltrating the Vothar's remaining communication networks and data systems. She had discovered that the Vothar were preparing a massive counteroffensive, but they had left their central command network vulnerable. The Vothar's communications were fragmented, their leadership fractured, and their confidence shattered. Lisa's team had found the perfect opportunity to strike. Meanwhile, Dr. Evan Clark and his team had worked tirelessly to refine the pulse core weapon, ensuring that it would deliver a devastating blow to the Vothar's remaining shield defenses. The plan was simple: disable their shields, target their flagship and most critical vessels, and then launch a full-on assault to cripple their command structure once and for all. The battle began at dawn. The Vothar fleet, towering and imposing, loomed in the sky above Earth's atmosphere. Their massive ships filled the skies like dark, monstrous shadows, each one bristling with weapons and advanced technology. They had come to make sure humanity paid the ultimate price for its defiance. But humanity, united and resolute, was not backing down. The first wave of attacks began when the Resistance's modified fighter jets and warships launched a coordinated strike, using the pulse core to disable the Vothar's advanced shields. The alien fleet, which had once been invincible, was now vulnerable. The humans unleashed everything they had, targeting the Vothar's ships with missile barrages and energy blasts, exploiting the gap in their defense. For the first time since the invasion began, the Vothar were forced to retreat, their once impenetrable ships taking damage. It was a glimmer of hope, proof that the Vothar were not invincible, that humanity could hold its ground and fight back. However, the Vothar quickly regrouped, and the battle intensified. The aliens launched a counterattack with all their might, their ships unleashing wave after wave of destruction. The humans, now in a race against time, fought fiercely, coordinating attacks and defending Earth's cities with everything they had. The skies above were filled with explosions, and the ground shook with the power of the clash between two opposing forces. Lisa worked tirelessly to mislead the Vothar, feeding them false data, making them believe that the resistance was spread thin across multiple battlefronts. Her efforts kept the aliens off balance, buying precious time for the human fighters to get into position for the final strike. Sarah's fleet surged forward, engaging the Vothar flagship directly. The Resistance's strategy was clear: take down the Vothar command center and disrupt their leadership structure. If the humans could do this, the Vothar Empire would crumble. It was a bold move, but it was humanity's only chance at victory. The final assault began with a massive coordinated strike aimed directly at the Vothar flagship, the heart of their operations. The humans, using a combination of advanced human-made weapons and modified alien tech, tore through the Vothar defenses. The Vothar flagship, once an indestructible symbol of their power, was now under siege. As the battle raged on, Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. This was the moment of truth. If they succeeded, Earth would be free. If they failed, humanity would be no more. She led the final charge, personally commanding a team of elite resistance fighters to board the Vothar flagship and take out its core systems. It wasn't just about firepower anymore. It was about unity, about every human fighting for their survival, for their families, for their future. And as the final waves of destruction hit, it was clear that the Vothar had miscalculated. In a final desperate attempt to save their empire, the Vothar sent every remaining ship into a last-ditch counteroffensive. But it was too late. The Vothar flagship exploded in a massive blast, and with it, the heart of the Vothar Empire crumbled. The remaining alien ships, leaderless and confused, began to retreat. The battle was won. Humanity had succeeded where the Vothar had failed to understand the true strength of their adversary. The aliens had underestimated the resilience, the ingenuity, and the sheer will of humankind. The final blow had been struck, and Earth was free. As the remaining alien forces flooded into the depths of space, General Sarah West stood among her people, victorious. Humanity had not only survived, it had triumphed. And as they looked to the stars, they knew one thing for certain: Earth would never again be underestimated. The war was over, and the human spirit had proven to be the most powerful force in the universe. Victory and reflection. The battle had ended, and Earth stood victorious. The sky, once filled with the dark, imposing shapes of the Vothar fleet, was now clear. The invaders who had come to conquer were now retreating into the unknown depths of space, their empire shattered, and their strength broken. The Vothar, who had once thought humanity weak and easy to crush, had learned the hardest lesson of all: never underestimate the will of a species willing to fight for survival. Humanity had won, but the cost had been high. Cities lay in ruins, lives had been lost, and the scars of war would remain for generations to come. Yet despite the devastation, there was a sense of triumph, a recognition that humanity had faced an impossible challenge and had overcome it. General Sarah West stood on the steps of the newly rebuilt United Nations headquarters, looking out at the crowds gathered before her. The people of Earth, though battered and broken, had stood together. Governments from every corner of the world had united in the face of a common enemy. Their resilience, their unity, had been the key to their survival. And now, with the Vothar Empire defeated, humanity stood on the precipice of a new future. The leaders of Earth had come together to discuss the rebuilding process, to share resources, and to heal the wounds left by the alien invasion. It would take time. Time to rebuild cities, time to mourn the losses, time to come together as one planet. But there was hope now, where there had once been only fear and uncertainty. As Sarah spoke to the crowd, her words were filled with pride and gratitude. "We have fought, we have lost, and we have won," she said. "We are here today because of our courage, our unity, and our unyielding spirit. The Vothar thought they could break us, But they failed. We have proven that no matter how dark the sky may become, humanity will always rise. The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers echoing across the globe. It was not just a celebration of victory. It was a celebration of humanity itself. The human spirit, the drive to survive, to adapt, and to fight, had proven stronger than any alien force. But even as the celebrations continued, there was a quiet reflection among the survivors. Humanity had faced a foe that was more powerful, more advanced than anything they could have imagined. The Vothar had come to Earth with a belief that they were invincible. Yet they had been defeated, not by weapons or sheer strength, but by something the aliens had failed to account for: humanity's resourcefulness and determination. Dr. Evan Clark, the scientist who had helped reverse engineer the Vothar technology, stood beside Sarah as they watched the celebrations. "We've learned so much from them," he said. "But more importantly, we've learned about ourselves. We've learned what we're capable of when we come together, when we refuse to back down." Sarah nodded, her gaze focused on the horizon. "We've won, yes. But we've also been changed. We've seen the worst of what the universe has to offer, and we've stood strong. Now we need to build a future, not just for us, but for the generations that will come after us." And so, the rebuilding began. The people of Earth, guided by the lessons learned from their victory, worked together to restore their world. The scars of war would take time to heal, but the spirit of unity and resilience that had defined humanity's struggle would serve as a foundation for the future. Though Earth had won, the story did not end there. The Vothar Empire had retreated, but the universe was vast, filled with unknown threats and untold possibilities. Humanity, once considered fragile and insignificant, had proven its strength. But the battle for survival was never truly over. The lesson was clear: Earth would no longer be a target for any empire, because humanity had shown the universe that it could, and would fight back. As Earth looked to the stars, the people knew that they had not just fought for their survival, they had fought to prove their place in the cosmos. The universe, vast and unpredictable, had learned a valuable lesson. Humanity would never be underestimated again. The Vothar had failed, and humanity had emerged victorious, stronger and more united than ever before. And with that victory came a new beginning, a future where the human spirit, unbroken and ever resilient, would lead them into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges the stars might throw their way.